Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and hello everyone. My name is Atiqah BASIRAH binti Miswan from Group 4. I am the main programmer for our group project. Next, I will introduce my team members or the other programmers that work hard to make the project successful. In my team, we have Nur Aisyah SAFIYYAH binti AZMAN, AISYA binti HAMDAN, and lastly we have NASHA BALQIS binti HIRUDIN. This project have been assigned to us by our lecturer to complete the current coding of cake order from the input file, and it will determine whether our coding can be run perfectly without any error. Without further ado, let's proceed to the summary of this project.
Next, I want to talk about the summary that we got when we finished this project. We understand that by finishing this project, we will be able to learn about the total number of orders that have been submitted for each cake, the most popular cake among the consumers, and the total payment that have been made by the customers for the cakes that have already been sold for each day. This type of approach will make it easy for the business owner to compute the net profit that they will receive for the day. Aside from that, they may determine which cakes are in high demand from the customers, and they will produce additional cakes for the next day. Other than that, we may identify the sort of the services that the customer prefers, whether the delivery or the pickup. As can be seen, the majority of customers decide for the delivery method to have their cake delivered to their residence. This method is more easy for the customers and it will save their time. As a result, this project will make it easy for the business owner to keep track of their customers' orders.
I will explain to you about the summary of the relationship between class in cake order report. Based on the diagram shown, we can see that it have 5 classes, right? And the first class is class definition, which is the cake class. We can see that there are 4 dash directed lines directing towards the cake class. This means that the first one is the node class is dependent upon this cake class. Second, linked list class is dependent upon this cake class. Third one is Q class is dependent upon this cake class. And the fourth one is the My Assessment 2Q app class is also dependent upon this cake class. The second class, as we can see in the diagram, is the node class. The node class, there is only one dash directed line directing towards the node class. This means that the link class is dependent upon this node class. The third class is the link class. We can see that there is only one solid directed line with a large open arrowhead pointing towards the link class. This means that the Q class is inherits from this link class. And the fourth class is the Q class. There are also only one dash directed line directing towards the Q class. This means that the My Assessment to Q app class is dependent upon this Q class. And last but not least, the class in the diagram shown above is the class application, which is My Assessment to Q app doesn't have any arrow pointing towards them. Thus, there are only 2 types of relationship identified based on arrow types in this assessment project or the cake order report. The first one is the dependency. A dependency is a relationship represented graphically as a dash directed lines directing towards the thing being used. Besides, one object dependent on the other object. A dependency is using the relationship that states the changes in one thing may affect another thing that use it. As we can see in the diagram shown before, the previous one is the most of the classes using this dependency relationship, while the second one is the generalization. It's often called as is a relationship. Generalization is represented as a solid directed lines with a large open arrow head pointing towards the general themes. Generalization is a relationship between a general thing and a specific things. Generalizations also specifies that the object of a child can be used at any place where the object of the parents is used. As we can see in the diagram, is between the Q and Ling class, it has this generalization relationship. And also in the Q class, it extends the linked list. Thus, the additive Q is inherit from additive linked list as it inherits attributes and methods from linked class. Q also can be implemented using linked list or sequential list. In this course, we will use self-defined class Q, which using a previous version of a linked list. While for the linked class, programmer also can create self-defined linked list by defining on linked list class to represent the node and the linked list structure.
So let's continue from the presented before. I will do the tracing of the coding to show the better understanding of the relationship between classes. So this is the complete coding of the main application called MyS2QF. The first line of the coding that called another classes is Q cake Q equal to new Q. The number one will create a new Q called cake Q. So this is the example of the new Q has been created. The new Q is called KQ. The second one we have the Q temp Q equal to new Q. The number 2 will create a new Q called temp Q. So this is the new Q has been created that called temp Q. The third one we have the cake order. The third one will create a new attribute called cake order by using the cake object. The next one we have the cake order equal to new cake ID, type and quantity. The fourth line will put the data from the input file cakeorder.txt into the cake object by using the function in the cake class called public cake string ID string cake type inqty. KQ.enqueue cake order will put the data that have been stored in the cake class into the cake queue by using the class queue using the function public void enqueue cake element. So the next one we have the cake order equal to cakequeue.dequeue. So this line will remove the data in the cake queue by using the queue class using the function public cake eq. Then we have the system.out.println cake order.toString is to print the output of the cake order by using the function in the cake class which is string to string. Next we have the tempq.enqueue cake order. This line will put the data that have been removed from the cake queue into the temp queue by using the function in the queue class public void enqueue cake element. So that's a bit of the tracing of the coding that can explain a little bit about the relationship between classes. So let's move to the next presenter.
So next, I will be showing you the input file that we use for this project, and I will run the main application to show you the output and the output screen and the output files that we will get after running it. So firstly, I will show you the input file. So the input file that we used is a txt file named cake order, and it consists of the customer ID, the cake type, and the quantity of cakes ordered by the customer. So this file will be the file that will be taken as input by the main application to execute
other lines of codes. Next, I will compile and run the main application. There you go. So as you can see here, as it's displayed, the first thing that is being displayed on the terminal window or the output screen is all data in the cake queue. So just to explain a little bit about this part of output. So like I said, the cake order.txt will be taken as input in the main application. So the main application will read each line in this txt file, and then it will take each line of it as an object cake, and then the object cake will be put into a queue named cake queue. And then after each line in this txt file has been read by the main application and has been put into the cake queue, then the main application will display all the data that exists in the queue. So that's just a little bit explanation how the cake queue is being displayed. Next, if we follow the source code, the data in the cake queue that is being displayed is for question D. And then for question E, which comes right after that, we have to write details of the customers into two separate txt files. One is delivery.txt, number two is pickup.txt. So, which means we will have two output files. So after these has been displayed, the main application will execute this line. So when this line has been executed, there will be two output files that will exist in the project directory or the project file. First one is delivery.txt. There you go. And then the second one is pickup.txt. So these are the two output files that you will get after running the main application. So these output files displays details of the customers, but the difference is the delivery.txt only displays or only show you the details of the customers that chose delivery service, while pickup.txt only show you the details for customers who chose self-pickup service. So that is a little bit about the two output files. Next, so after the output files have been created, the rest of the code will be executed. So I will get back to the output screen or the terminal window. So next, the total quantity of each cake will be displayed, and then the terminal window will also display the cake that have the highest total order, which happens to be red velvet with the total order of 9. Next, lastly, the last question G. Last question G, it requires us to display the receipt for each customer. And as you can see, in the receipt, there's customer ID, the cake name, the price of the cake, and the quantity ordered, the service type, and the total payment. So customer ID, cake name, price, and quantity are all taken from the cake queue, while the type of service, which is delivery or self-pickup, is determined in the main application, and the total payment as well is calculated in the main application. So since in the input file have 11 lines of data, which means there's 11 customers, therefore there will be 11 receipts that will be displayed by the terminal window. So that's the end of our output. So basically that is all from us. I hope our explanation is thorough enough and understandable. And thank you very much for listening and watching.